If I'm chipping away at that timeline, it can be exculpatory for you, meaning that it excludes you as a suspect.
David Wright and his friend Christopher arrived at a street corner around 3:40 a.m. on February 17, 2019, under the impression that they were engaging in a routine drug transaction. Little did they know that this meeting had been orchestrated as a trap, designed to ensnare them in a robbery. In this unsuspecting moment, David confronted the buyers, Raul Quadros and Brianna R., and demanded that they hand over their possessions. Consequently, Chris fell victim to a pepper spray attack while the buyers made a hasty escape. Shortly thereafter, David retrieved a revolver concealed within his waistband and fatally shot Raul Quadros in the chest. Feeling assured that they would evade capture, David and Chris hastily departed the crime scene, discreetly disposing of the firearm in a nearby field. However, their hopes of eluding justice were soon shattered as various surveillance cameras in the vicinity successfully identified their true identities. Is the killer, who proudly claims an IQ surpassing 150, completely unaware that he is about to exemplify precisely what not to do in a police interrogation? Multiple individuals were able to identify David through the footage captured by CCTV cameras, leaving no doubt as to his presence at the scene of the crime. In addition, Facebook messages were discovered, containing discussions about the details of the drug deal, further implicating David in the incident. The detective's primary goal is to piece together the exact series of events and determine the motive behind them. However, David remains uncooperative and devises a plan to outwit the detectives. David's defense and alibi hinge on the possibility that someone else had possession of his phone and impersonated him during the drug deal. To support this claim, he argues that he cannot recall the precise date of the incident, a detail that cannot be definitively proven or disproven. Nevertheless, for his assertion to be valid, the person who used his phone would need to bear a striking resemblance to David, have access to his Facebook account, and, according to David's description of the culprit, undergo a change in skin color. In most circumstances, it is advisable to remain silent during an interrogation and promptly seek legal representation. However, David staunchly denies any involvement in the case, despite being directly implicated through various sources. His current actions only worsen the situation for himself and those associated with him, driven solely by his own ego. Presenting what initially appears to be an inconsequential piece of evidence, the detective introduces David to a solid proof meant to implicate him. Reluctantly, David admits to encountering Cody but maintains that their interaction ended there. While this may seem like a minor detail, the detectives recognize its effectiveness in dealing with David and proceed to utilize the myriad of other evidence at their disposal, employing a gradual approach to extract a complete confession from him. Will David's resolve crumble under the weight of mounting evidence? Despite the interrogation surpassing the 40-minute mark, progress remains minimal. Confronting David with evidence, revisiting the events of the night, or outlining the adverse consequences of his actions proves fruitless. Consequently, the detectives undertake a significant shift in their strategy. Resorting to intimidation by emphasizing the potential repercussions his actions could have on his friends, David finds himself trapped in a web of lies, and it's clear that he starts feeling uneasy, even if it's not immediately obvious. Consequently, now that his ego has been wounded, he automatically becomes defensive. The detective takes on the responsibility of continuously pressing him, with the goal of obtaining even a small amount of additional information. Seated in the interrogation room, David adjusts his cap, his hand shifting from his lap, a noticeable restlessness displayed through subtle movements and occasional stuttering. His ego bears the weight of significant bruising, causing his unease to intensify. Individuals like David, who possess narcissistic tendencies, are often susceptible to sudden outbursts driven by an innate desire to assert their intelligence and control. Ironically, it is these very outbursts that frequently lead to the divulgence of information crucial for their definitive apprehension. At this juncture, it becomes evident that the conversation has reached its definitive conclusion. From this moment onward, David steadfastly refuses to utter another word, opting to withhold his eloquence. Unsurprisingly, his lack of defense or cooperation with the detectives results in a poor outcome in court. As a consequence, he receives the harshest sentence possible, Additionally, David's criminal record, encompassing previous convictions for arson, burglary, vehicle theft, and 35 other misdemeanors dating back to 1999, further compounds his legal predicament. Consequently, on a fateful day in October 2020, the gavel of justice resounded within the courtroom as the final verdict was delivered upon David Wright, a 33-year-old man whose actions had woven a tapestry of destruction. The weight of the law bore down upon him, determining his fate to be a daunting 40-year prison sentence, devoid of any glimmer of hope for parole.